welcome to the Live Loving live stream with John Davis. Well, hello and welcome to the Live Loving live stream from the fabulous John of News Studios. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys this evening. I hope you're having a great Friday evening. I know I am. I'm very, very excited to be here live with you today. I'm feeling tremendously good right now. My health is just wonderful. I'm so excited. As many of you know, I do an annual fast, and I do that in March. And I am currently in the beginning stages where I do an absolute zero carb lifestyle for a short time, so that I don't have any of the carb cravings coming to the fast at the beginning. So right now I'm very much into the zero carb, and once you go zero carb, you lose weight quickly. So my face is getting thinner. I'm getting my waddle, and I'm very excited to be here with you guys tonight. I want to hop over and just say hello to some folks. Scott, hello. What are the powers and principalities? I'm not sure what the powers and the principalities are. So, hi, Greg, how are you? Mr. John, you can call me John. Mr. is my would be my father, but his name was not John. Denise, hello. Let me dive down here, see who else is here. Anne, howdy. Oh, I want to tell you, Larry's here. Hello, Larry. I want to tell you guys something funny. I have my iPad over here to the left, and I have my software that runs the live stream over here to the right. And when someone earlier put up a pink hand waving, well, it's funny, in my software it literally says hand pink waving, whereas over here I can see it. So it's kind of funny to see the emojis spelled out over here this way. Chitra, hello, Chitra. It's so good to see you here, Chitra. Let me go ahead and jump up. I saw a question from Greg up here about fasting, so I might as well jump on about this. I got a question. What's the main purpose for fasting if you and Jesus did it back then? It's interesting. Fasting, I think, was less about a spiritual practice and more about being focused on connecting to the oneness. And what happens is the fast kind of naturally happens. You'd go off and you would just go into that space, like what I call sitting in love, and you'd be in that space for a while. The reason I fast now currently in this life is because I just, I eat a bunch of junk during the year, and I think it's really good to give the body a rest from the junk, and I do it for usually the month of March into April. This year I'm actually going to go a little shorter. I'm only going to go 21 days this year because I'm doing a longer zero carb lead in. I'm doing all of the month of February for that, and I started in January, so I'm doing a longer prep there, and I'm coming out of it into zero carb as well. So to me, it's really just trying something new this year, but I'll still be doing at least 21 days this year. But I don't see it as a spiritual practice for me now. And back then, I think it was less about a regimented, dogmatic ritual and more about just being in the space of that oneness with God. And then, you kind of just went off to do that, and food became secondary. And so I think that's really what it's about. Now, the 40 days and the 40 nights you always hear about in the Bible, and many different stories say the 40 days and 40 nights, that's a leftover concept from the Old Testament, and that's from the original Hebrew Bible, or the original Hebrew Jewish text. And so it to me, it's less about a ritual and more about just doing something other. And that's my kind of take on that. I hope that answers your question, Greg. I also want to say, if anybody has questions, please go ahead and put them in all caps, because as you can see, the chat board kind of flies, and it's so much easier for me to spot it. Before I dive into anybody else, I want to hop in and say some stuff that was really good, important to me to say. When someone does what they love, and they work, long, long hours, and they do it because they feel like they're of purpose, and they feel like they're doing um, just profound work, and it's always good when someone says something to them about it. And today I had a really beautiful message tagged me on YouTube. And if you go to my community page, I put it up. There's a young girl in I think her name is Iba or something like that, in Mexico. And she put up just a lovely little thing to say how this video I'd put out had really affected her. And I just really wanted to say how much I appreciated hearing that. And how much, sometimes it's just nice to hear. I sometimes do 70, 80 hours a week work on what I do. And it's, sometimes it's just nice. But that being said, I want to take this moment to thank someone who is just doing really good things in the world and really affecting change and really helps me out in immeasurable ways. And that's my good friend, Marcy. She's right here right now, and I have a chance right here and right now to say, it is such a wonderful thing in my life to see your smiling face and to hear your beautiful message of love. And the fact that you've changed your direction towards this creating a loving world, to me, is just so in line with what I do. But I love what you're doing right now, and I love all the energy you put into everything you're doing, and I really appreciate what you do for me here. So everyone, make sure you give Marcy a lot of love, and congratulations on breaking the 2,000 subscriber mark. That's a great accomplishment. So well done, Marcy. So let me dive back over and see what we got here. Marcy, I meant every word. So let me jump back over and see what I'm missing. Greg, I'm going to come back to you again, just because I appreciate that you like what I'm putting out. I have an interesting concept about the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness is actually a New Age concept because they're trying to figure out how to marry Jeshua into New Age beliefs, and so the Christ consciousness idea is kind of a New Age. What it is you're tapping into is your higher self. It's your oneness with God, your Holy Spirit. It's all the same stuff. Even this Christ consciousness thing, it's all the same stuff. It's you. It's you coming into yourself. So I appreciate that you're getting there, and I really appreciate it. The reason I even bring this up is because the word Christ comes from the Messianic teachings, and I that to me is so antithetical to what he taught that I like to always make sure I talk about that and reference that. But I thank you for your kind words, though. Very nice. Thank you. Let me jump. Scott, what's it? I kind of mentioned this earlier. What are the powers and principalities? I have no idea what that means, so I really unfortunately don't have an answer for you. I'm so sorry. Going down. Yeah. I drink broth all the time. I had someone the other day tell me that it had to be bone broth, and I had to tell them that, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and regular broth will work just fine. Thank you very much. Kathy, I usually do 40 days of water fasting every year, but this year I'm only doing 21. I think I mentioned that earlier. What is tough love? This is a very good question. What is tough love? Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is be a consequence. And sometimes that consequence is the thing that the person really needs, but at the moment, it just seems very painful and harsh. And I've told this story before, and I'll tell it again. I had a man who I knew who was an amazing individual, taught Kundalini Yoga. Whenever you'd see him during the festival days, he would have a big grin on his face and a twinkling eye, and he just was you'd look at him and just like, I like that guy. But there was a large percentage, almost half the time, that he was a butthead. And I found out much later on that he was into cocaine. And when he was a butthead, he was on cocaine. And I had to come to the point where I had to love myself enough to say I can't only like him half the time and really have a bad experience with, give him myself a bad experience with him the other half the time. And I have to love myself enough that way. But I also know that it doesn't help him to just placate or to not say something about this. So I said to him, I said, Michael, I said, I think you have a lot to offer this world, but I think that this cocaine is just a terrible thing, and I think it's wasting you away. And I said, and I love myself enough not to be your friend half the time, and so I'm not going to be your friend at all until you're off drugs. And he left. And I knew in the very moment that I was doing it that I was doing the right thing for both him and me, because you have to love yourself equally. And 20 years go by, and he emails me, "Can I talk to you?" "Yeah, sure. What do you want, Mike?" He says, "I want to thank you." He says, "Because I respected you, and what you said to me that day really showed me that I was really messing my life up." He says, "I left, I went back to my home state, I put myself into rehab, and I went back to college, and now I've been teaching high school for the past 20 years. And I just wanted to thank you for saying that to me that day." And to me, that's important. To me, that's the most important thing. Was it tough on him? Sure. But that is the tough love. I had another young man who was very talented, very good at what he did, directing fights at the Tennessee Renaissance Festival. And I was paying him a paycheck to do the fight choreography. And I started to notice that he was not showing up and his assistant was doing all the work. And I very quickly got to the point where I was like, well, why am I paying him? I had a contract with him, so he got paid for that season. But the next season, I didn't hire him. He got all mad. I said, "Yeah, I'm not bringing you back. I'm just using him." And he got all, you're ending my friendship with him and all this stuff. I said, that's your choice. That's not his choice. That's your choice. You're choosing to end that friendship. And then I got a message from him many years later saying, "Thank you. I really needed to have a kick in the butt." And I left there and I realized that I was just partying too much and messing up. And now I'm a EMT and I love my job. And thank you so much for what you did. So tough love is not, it's literally doing the loving thing, even though in the moment it can be very hard. So that's my thought on it. I hope that answers your question. But let me jump back over here. Denise, I just love you. What would you suggest to help one stop having fear? Everyone want to sing it together in unison? Exhale. Whenever you have fear, exhale. One of the products of fear is that you're storing air inside of yourself. When you exhale, you release it. Just go, no, I'm not doing this now. You come back to that base, that foundation. Your foundation, right at the core of your breath, is love. It's who you are. It's your authentic self. Whenever you have a fear, exhale. And then negate it. Negate and redirect. No, I'm not doing that. I am joyfully living a life. Negate and redirect. But exhale first, because the exhale is the release of fear. And you have to make it habitual. You have to make it habitual. It took you many years to get those fears. They're now a habit. You've got to break the habit by actively and consciously saying, no, I'm not doing that. You have to recognize fear for what it is and to use the words of the wisest guru that's ever lived. Named must your fears be, before banish it you can. You have to recognize it as fear, and then you can banish it. So you recognize it as fear, you exhale. That's why they call it the breath of God. Let's exhale and say, redirect. I am joyfully creating, and create the habit. Now we know that habit scientifically takes between 21 and 60 days of repetitive action. So you got to do it for at least 3 weeks for it to start to work. And then the longer you do it, the longer those quiet times in between last. And eventually what happens is you filled your past with all these collection of present moment joyful memories, and the fear stops coming, because what happens is all those fears are subconscious. Because if you think about what fear is in general, in the present moment, all fear is an emotional reaction. But it's an emotional reaction to past experience and a focus on something ahead of us that we have a negative focus on the outcome of. But there's nothing set up there in the future. The future is nothing but pure potential. And the reality of it is what comes into our experience is what we believe in this moment about what we're creating. I am joyfully living. I'm happily, wonderfully exploring. Fear is just something we release. And the more we release it, and the more we spend time going back to that beautiful space inside, the more our awareness of self grows, the more our authentic self shines, and the more we have the ability to then go, oh, I am a joyful, loving person. I'm a caring person. And when something fearful comes up, then it's like, oh no, I'm not doing that, because I am living my life to my fullest, doing things that I love, so I can be surrounded by people I love in return. And that's how you release the fear, is to get very present and exhale and redirect back to the positive. Hope that answers your question, Denise. And I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. Annie, just going back to dietary stuff, when you do a zero carb diet, and specifically more of a carnivore style like I'm doing, intermittent fasting becomes it happens naturally. You no longer have the sugar cravings for the carbs, and so you naturally eat less. I typically eat 1 or 2 meals a day now, and the weight's just falling off, and I'm never hungry. So yeah, I love it. I think it's a part of our natural expression. Moving on. Bright love. See that? Exhale. There you go. I don't know whether he was crucified upside down, but it would not surprise me. Joshua's followers were very devoted people, and in being so devoted, they would not have wanted to be in any way, shape, or form replacing him. And so to ask to be crucified upside down, which is what the story says, he was crucified upside down. John wasn't there, so I don't have the access to a memory of that experience. I just know what I've read in the histories, but I absolutely think it's totally possible. I hope that it's satisfying. How did Jesus fast? He just didn't eat. I don't know whether he drank water or not, and I'm not even sure it was 40 days. I think that it might actually be an inclusion from somewhere else, but I know that I've done 40 days with just water and been fine, so I hope that answers that for you. Welcome. I would have to hear your definition of Stoicism, because it's one of those things that I think is oftentimes lumped in with, they're a Stoic, and they kind of lump things in, but not all of them always agree. So I would like to hear your definition before I can really dive into what you're asking there. Marcy, you are so welcome. That tells you how far back I am in these comments, people. I'm back to it. Beautiful. I love to see all the people giving Marcy the work. It's good. Jumping down. If you could choose 3 counties, I'm not sure whether you're saying counties or countries. What about them? I'm not sure. Guys, if you're looking for Marcy's channel, in the chat you'll see it says "Spirit Baby Do It." If you click it, it'll actually take you to her channel. But that's her channel. Spirit Made Me Do It. Make sure you go over and subscribe. Give her your love. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I wasn't. If I could choose 3 countries to which you could travel next, which would they be? Well, it's interesting you say that. My next on my list is Turkey, for very specific reasons. Supposedly, John's grave is in Ephesus, and Mary's grave, Mother Mary's grave, is supposedly in Ephesus as well. And so I want to go there and just experience that place, that place. And so it is the one thing that I really would like to do. If I could travel to 3 countries, to travel to next, which would it be? Well, I would take another vacation in Italy, possibly, because that's my favorite country I've been to so far. But I really want to go down to New Zealand. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a big movie buff, and I love the Lord of the Rings movies. And I would totally be a dork and go on the Lord of the Rings tour in New Zealand with my son. And right now, I don't know if you guys know this, I get a lot of private sessions out of Australia, and I think that there's some big stuff going on down there. And I was just invited to come speak down there, but I couldn't do it because my schedule's booked out till November. But if I ever get a chance to go back to someone bring me down to Australia, I would totally do that as well. So I love to travel. I'm glad Denise, I'm glad you knew that I was going to say exhale. Well, Bright Love, say hi to your kids. And are they watching the show? And if so, hi. They're 8 and 3. Watch this. Ready? That's just for you. Moving on. Hey, Ann, thank you so much for the super sticker. That's great. This business of YouTube, and I say it that way, it really only works with super stickers and super thanks and donations and things of that nature. It keeps a roof over the head, and it keeps this camera on, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have I heard about the lost Gospel of Judas? Do you think it's legit or a fraud? It's right there on my bookshelf, right over there. Well, I think it's legit. I think it's a Gnostic text, but I don't put a lot of credibility into most of the texts because there's so many variations of translations. I was just watching Dan McClellan earlier today, and they're like the earliest documented texts we really have are from 100 years after all that stuff happened. It's like from the like right now we're in 2024, so it would be like the book should be coming from memory from 1924, and before the Great Depression, and so it's like, and then the bulk of them come around the time of the Nicene Council, which is between 300 and 400. So, and what Dan always was talking about was they're kind of cobbled together texts from various sources, and none of them are really legitimate. And the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Gnostic texts really are coming from the same sort of sources. They're coming from Judaic Messianic cults who are trying to prove the Messianic story. And so I think it's a legit or a fraud? I think it's possibly an oral tradition that has been put down on paper or papyrus as with an agenda. It's much like right now the Gospel of the Holy 12. Everybody's asking me about this Gospel of the Holy 12. Well, the Gospel of the Holy 12 is not even remotely an ancient text. It was a series of newspaper articles from the late 1800s into the early 1900s. And what it was is they took the New Testament and they infused vegetarianism into it. So they're trying to prove that everything is about vegetarianism, but it's not at all factual. So if there's one that I know of that I would say is a fraud, it's that one, because it really is trying to push a vegetarian agenda. I think it's the same thing with a lot of the Gnostic texts. I think they're trying to push a messianic agenda. So that's kind of my thought on all those kind of old texts. I think if we could throw the books away and really come back to simply loving one another, the world would change dramatically. Like Marcy's doing over there in her channel. She's bringing love. What are my thoughts on tithing? I think it's a great way for churches to take people's money. Now, people are going to say, well, John, don't you? I said, no. The churches, what tithing actually is they tell you you're supposed to give 10% of your money to the church, right? And when I was an altar boy back all those years ago, I remember being in the sacristy when a family would come back to visit the priest. And I literally heard him say this. He says, hey, it's good to see you. I haven't seen your envelope this week. First thing that was on the priest's mind was the money. Where's the money coming from? And so, he was throwing guilt about where's the money. And so I really just think it's a way for the churches to say, if you really look back historically wise, tithing started by saying, give to the church or you may burn in hell. So they would scare you into tithing. I don't think it's necessary whatsoever. I think creation is simply about belief, and that you don't need to tithe to get things in your life. That's a religious construct that is unnecessary, and it's designed specifically to make churches more money. Sounds so mean. I'm such a mean guy. And I'm glad you asked this question. This painting right here, this lovely man, I painted this painting in January of the year 2000. I had my regression in October of 1999. So this is a couple months after the regression. I sat down and painted this picture, and this is exactly what I saw him looking like. And people will often start to get mad at me because he doesn't look like this angelic European figure. But that's exactly what I saw him looking like. And that's why I put it in my videos. That's why I painted it in the first place, because I wanted the real man, not the deity that's been created over time. Thanks for the question. I love this question. This is a good one. Marky. I'm going to turn back to my painting again. I don't know if you can notice it, but there's a light line around his body. There's a light line that goes right around the body, and then there's another brighter line a little higher. And so you see kind of a glow off of him. When I view people and I view the world, I see this outer line. I see this halo. I see this expression. I think that the body is a representation of our belief. It's an illusion in an illusion, and so it's just a collection of memories, a collection of beliefs. It's a collection of our experiences. It's a collection of our inner belief. And what happens is, it's in an illusion that has no defined lines except for in our mind. But when you start to thin your veil, you start to see it. And I've done this. There's a video on how to see auras on my channel with doing the thing with the finger, and you see the lines. If you can get to the point where, and for those of you who haven't done this before, find something with a dark background, hold your fingers about an inch apart, and focus at the space in between the fingers. And once you focus on the space in between the fingers, right, just focus there. You'll start to see something. And then to prove your eyes aren't just freaking out, do this motion. And you'll see something really interesting. So, and that's how you kind of train your eyes to see it. And then what happens is you start to see. I was one time in Canada, and I was performing in a Scottish Ceilidh event. I was doing comedy and sword fights, and there was all these Scottish dancers and music, and it was held at a school for Scottish dance. And there was this one woman who was just a beautiful, loving. So when you saw her, she was just pure love on the inside, and she since has passed away. But I was there watching the rehearsal, and I watched her on stage just shining and beaming, and her mom walked in the room, and I saw this rush of energy right out of her feet into her mom. And then the more I got to know the mom, I realized the mom was a narcissist who was literally sucking the energy out of the room just by expecting to be served. And I was kind of saddened by the whole thing, because later on, the beautiful woman, died of cancer, and she kind of wasted away. But I think I really do. That day when I saw that energy leave, and I was sitting there, my comedy partner was me, said, "Do you see that? Do you see?" He couldn't see it, but I was like, everything's just pouring right out of her into her mother, and it was just really kind of sad. But that's what I think the halos are: is people actually seeing it. Now, in Renaissance art, the halos were put in there to show this was a divine person. But I will tell you from perspective, if you just look at that painting, you'll see kind of a haziness around the head. That's what I see when I look at people, including the people that I talk to in life, including all of us. We all have that. We're all divine. That's a great question. So we talk about tough love and unconditional love. So was there a condition when I talked to Michael? Sure, there was a condition. The condition was that I was going to love him, and I was going to love myself equally. And that's totally unconditional love. You can unconditionally love someone. Most people, to do the hard thing for somebody, knowing full well you may lose their love, that is unconditional love. And so when you come to that space of realizing sometimes you have to do the thing to be unconditional, right? Sometimes the conditions are that you're putting up with stuff, right? Unconditional love. I love you enough to know that you need something more harsh, something that seems more tough. But unless someone says it, you're never going to change. So that's how I would say it. It is unconditional. Well, thank you, Bright Love, for the very good job on it. You talk about healing, about I am receiving perfect health. I'm having a serious health issue. I've been doing that, trying to feel healthy, but am on antibiotics yet again. Okay. So you're looking at a cognitive dissonance here. You're saying I am receiving perfect health, but you're declaring I'm having a serious health issue. Thank you, God, for the perfect health I am receiving. It's not I am having a health issue. I'm, as you used in your statement here, is God's nickname. Whatever you ask in God's name is granted. And if you believe you're having a serious health issue, that's either you continuing to believe it, or that's the moment you lost faith in receiving perfect health. Then you said, I've been doing that, trying to feel healthy. Well, the second you say you're trying, that's a present moment belief that you're not feeling healthy. So that's reinforcing I'm having a serious health issue. I'm not feeling healthy. And the antibiotics are just a doctor's product of your belief. So it comes back to your belief has to be genuine and it has to be present. I am receiving. Now I say receiving, right? That receiving is important because that means it's going to come into my experience. It's not going to go bing, unless you can magically believe instantly that you're healed, which a lot of people can, right? Most can't. I am receiving perfect health means today I can do a little more. I can walk a little further. I can do a little bit something else. But it's also not wrong to put faith in the antibiotics, because it's your faith that heals you. I am receiving perfect health. Doctor says, well, I have this thing. And you say, Oh, will it work? He says, yes. You say, oh, cool. I believe that works. The blind man who was born blind, Joshua picked up mud, spit on it, rubbed it on his eyes, right? The mud didn't cure him. It was the belief that the mud was curing him that healed him. So it's just a matter of what you can put faith in. If you can put faith that the doctor is curing you, then you'll be healed. Or if you put faith in this manifestation is working, and this I am receiving perfect health, then it'll heal you. But it always comes back to, do you believe it? And your statement actually literally says, I don't believe it. It actually says, I'm having a health issue and I'm trying to do that. And trying means you're not. So it's not happening. I am doing it. Do or do not. There is no try. So I hope that doesn't sound harsh or strong, but you got this. I have complete faith. How about all of us right now? Thank you, God, for the perfect health Janine is receiving. That's all of it. However you want to pray, however you want to put that intention out, let's put this intention out for Janine to receive perfect health. And let's just do that. Thank you, whoever did that. If you can see that, the goosebumps rising on my arm. This is the key. Right here, right now, thank you. And Janine, if you can believe it, if you can accept it and say, I am joyfully receiving the loving intentions of perfect health from these amazing people who are here watching this live stream, that you can put faith in that too. And then start monitoring the amazing changes that you're receiving that come into your life experience. Hope that makes sense. I'd like to know, Bright Love, why were you hoping I'd say turkey? Oh, nice. I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings too. I will have to do a little bit more reading on the concepts of Stoicism, because I don't necessarily understand it as clearly as you obviously do. So I will have to look into that. So I really don't have an answer for you right now, but I wanted to make sure that that's because you were kind enough to give me that definition. Thank you for that. Do I have any memory of Mother Mary? I have glimpses of Mother Mary. Thank you for that. Glimpses, but it's not like with Mary Magdalene, Ishti, I have moments of just laughing and joking with her and having moments. But with Mother Mary, I have very little memory, even though she ended up living in John's house and ended up going to Ephesus with John. I have very little memories of her. I wish I had more. That would be, well, maybe I'll ask for more. I said wish. Hear that? Even I screw up sometimes. Oh, I love this one. Do you believe your higher self can communicate with you? My ears have been ringing a lot since I started this journey. My ears were checked and I was told they were fine. I have chronic tinnitus all the time. I always hear a ringing in my ears. And I just think it's a frequency thing. But your higher self talks to you all the time. It talks to you through your intuition, through the pictures that pop up in your head, the ideas that you experience through whether you like that person or not. It's your higher self talking to you. And it's a matter of recognizing it. It's not a mystical experience. It's a part of your natural self. And the more you acknowledge that it's coming from your higher self, the more your higher self is recognized. Because your higher self is who you truly are. It's aware of your divinity with God. It's aware of your physical world experience. Your physical world is kind of like veiled, using the word veil, veiled from the experience of the divinity. And so the higher self, or the Holy Spirit, as many, that the Christians would say, is your higher self. That is you, to your complete awareness of everything. And so that information that's coming down through is coming from you to you. And it's just trickling through the veil. And the more you acknowledge it, and the more you release the fears, the more the information flows. I hope that makes sense, Bright Love. I'm enjoying your videos and helping so much. Question, do you know or have knowledge of autism, Asperger's impact on life choices or spiritual impact. Um, I actually did a video called "God is Autistic." Um, it's on my channel somewhere. Um, I think that a lot of times they come into life to experience these various things, but I think a lot of the autism and Asperger's folks have a very thin veil that it's very they think of the world in very what's the word I'm looking for? They're very literal, and so they come in very clear, this or that. There's no middle ground, no gray. And what's interesting about that is when you look at spirituality, it's love and fear. Now, those of us in the physical know that there's a sliding scale here. There's this midpoint, and there's, I like them, blah, 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 all the way up to love, or like I feel good, I'm joyful, I'm happy, blah, 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 and all the way up to love. And then there's, sad, angry, scared, all the way up to fear. So it's a sliding scale. The autistic folks don't have the sliding scale; they just have the extremes. Same with bipolarism; they have these extremes that they go from one to the other, but they're unable to focus in the physical. I really think it's, in many cases, the autistic and the Asperger's folks are, and I don't want to say advanced because I don't like the word advanced. I think they're just on a different wavelength. And I think it's because their veils are getting thinner. I hope that makes sense to you. Um, my friend, I am so completely sorry that this happened. I have a cousin named Carlos who committed suicide in a very interesting way. He went to a police parking lot and took his life in the parking lot of the police station, and left a note saying, I didn't want my family to find me, so I did it here. But I want to share this story with you because Carlos, his name is Carlos, and when I had the last time I saw Carlos was at a family reunion, and Carlos had been going up to every person at the party just saying bye. And at the time, was with my first wife, and she was severely bipolar, and she was having a real big episode, and I was kind of dealing with that. And Carlos came in to say goodbye, and he said, "I just wanted to say bye." I said, "Well, hey, Carlos, it's been good to see you." I used to call him Chuck. Chuck, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Really good to see you, so on. And I kind of was turned back to deal with, and in my peripheral vision, I saw Carlos turn to leave, stop, come back like he was going to say something, and then turn to leave again. And I never saw him again. He shot himself the next day. But about a month later, I was in my mom's house in a bedroom, and I was sleeping because, quite honestly, I was out at the bars the night before. And it was the mid-afternoon, and I was sound asleep. And I was in a room that it was one of those rooms that is kind of encapsulated by the house, so it's completely dark in the middle of the day. And I saw an aura in the room, and I was looking at it, and it kind of formed the shape of a human. And then I knew it was Carlos. And Carlos was literally saying to me, I need to tell his mother he's in a better place, that he couldn't be here anymore. He needed to be in a better place. And so the next morning, I woke up. It was a Sunday morning. And I woke up and I came out of my house. My mom, of course, was at church. My father was at his church, a golf course somewhere. And my aunt was sitting in the kitchen. And I walked out, I sat down. I'm like, how do you broach this subject? Because she didn't know any of my spirituality. So I said, have you ever heard of auras? And I just started talking about the real basic thing. And she told me a story about some spiritual things that happened to her while she was in Peru. And I said, the reason I wanted to ask this question is because I saw Carlos last night. And before I could even say another word, she says, is he in a better place? And I was like, that's exactly why I came. Some people come here and they experience this life, and it's just too hard for them. They just can't get it, and they can never feel like they're 100% here, and they always never feel safe, and they always feel lost. And sometimes they take their lives. And when they do take their lives, it's a tragic event. It's a tragic event for all the people who are left behind. For them, it's a relief. They go to the other side and they experience the oneness of God. There's no judgment on the other side. They're not damned to hell for what they've done. They've gone to the other side, and they're embraced in the love that they never could feel here. So for them, they're free of the pain that they were in while they're here, the mental pain that they were in while they're here. And he came back to tell his mother that he no longer was in that pain. And so I hope that in some way this helps you and your family to know that he's not being judged, he's not being punished, he's being embraced, he's being loved, he's being hugged on the other side with pure love, the love that he's always wanted his entire life that he could never feel in the physical world. He's feeling that now, and it's a tragic thing that he did in this moment, but in the end, he is now resting from that pain, and we can be so grateful that he's no longer in that pain on the other side. So I'm very sorry that this has happened to you and your family. I understand the tragedy of it. I understand the pain of it, and I feel for you. So thank you for being open and sharing this here at this time, because I think there's a lot of people in the world who've had to deal with tragedies like this, and sometimes it's a matter of hearing somebody else who's been through it as well, and so that they can commiserate or to at least know someone else understands. And understand, I do understand. Thank you for sharing that. This whole statement that is here about tithing to help God's work, God doesn't need work. God's retired. God's an independent operator, right? But if you feel that the money is going for good, then sure, tithe. It's really up to you. But ask yourself, is the church you're going to filled with gold? Is it filled with elaborate costumes and beautiful art and some of the most expensive real estate in the country? If they really wanted to help people, why don't they just sell all their gold and have all the money in the world? It's less about the tithing. Is really, if you have money and you want to help people, go out and help people. Donate to a homeless shelter. Donate to the Wounded Warriors Project. Donate to something that is going directly to people who need help. There's no need for a middleman for you to help someone or to give that love or to share that money. If you've got the extra, go give it directly where it will help, as opposed to giving to a church who's paying for that real estate and that gold and all those things out of that money. That money is only keeping that church open, whereas that money could go directly to a homeless shelter and help somebody. So that's my thought on that. Hope that answers your question. Jumping down. I'm going back to this again. How would Jesus have approached someone who did take their life? As I said, it would be an embrace. He would say, "Welcome home." He would say, "I love you." And quite honestly, if your nephew believed in Jeshua, when we leave this earth, we transition through our beliefs. So the experience of Jeshua would have been his. So. 6 years ago, I was told that my lungs were filled with spots because I had been making aluminum swords for theaters and for Cirque du Soleil even, and I was told I had spots all throughout my lungs, and that they wanted to do a biopsy, but I had to lose weight before they could put me under anesthesia. And I said, I'll lose the weight, but in 3 months, instead of the biopsy, what I'd like you to do is scan me again, and we'll make a decision about the biopsy at that time. And his response was, I don't think it's a wise idea. I said, yeah, but that's what we're going to do. And 3 months later, after going home and saying, thank you for the perfect health I'm receiving, and getting up and walking and breathing, I came back in 3 months and there were no spots in my lungs. I have seen more healing than most people. I've seen children stand up out of wheelchairs. I told the story many times with the woman with the swollen face who instantly cured of their swollen face just by taking her belief. I've watched a woman with terminal cancer. Within a week, she had no cancer in her body. If you go to my testimonial page, there's a lady on there who talks about shrinking. The testimonial page is on the page where you book sessions, but on the bottom of the page is all these testimonials. And there's a lady who shrank her cancer through belief. Absolutely, it's possible. It's only a matter, can you believe it? And if you can believe it, you can heal yourself. Absolutely. So I hope that helps. IB, I spoke about you earlier. Is that how you say your name? Ladies and gentlemen, this was the lovely young lady who put up a beautiful video that I saw and watched, and was thoroughly moved by and talked about at the beginning of this live stream. So thank you. I hope it's pronounced IB. If it is, thank you so much. You're down there in Mexico. I'm so glad you're here. You really made my day. Thank you. I'm jumping down. Tri-Torch. Here. Just zipping down. Okay, hold on. I love this. I love that you're doing this, Tri-Torch. Well, tell us about your. Have you actually manifested? Have you noticed it? Have you acknowledged it? And if you've acknowledged it, go a little bigger. Go a little bigger. The second, you can do it immediately. You get one little thing, you can go up a little bigger and just build up your faith, because trust is developed by results over time. And so, just go a little bigger, and you'll be amazed. You'll eventually get to the point where you're manifesting world travel like I did. A feather helped Dumbo fly. I appreciate the good words about me being a good man. Some people wouldn't agree. There you go. Don't run out of gas, Tri-Torch. Yep. Turkey. I'm all about turkey. Let's see. What do you say here? How does a past life memory feel before having had a... I have no idea what the next part of that is. So how does a past life memory feel? Well, in my regression, it was a very strange experience. Regressions have a different aspect. For some people, it's just information that they get. For some people, it's very visual. For me, it was an extremely visceral experience. I could smell the air. I could feel the wind. I could smell the fish. I was on that beach physically. I was literally like I was standing there, and the conversation with the regressionist were the thoughts in my head. It was like my consciousness shifted into two different places, switched places. And so for me, it was a very visceral experience, and still is. When I have the spontaneous regressions that still pop in occasionally, they're very visceral. It is literally like I'm right there in the experience. So, but for other people, it's not. It's not that way. It all depends on the way you process and what you can believe, I guess. Um, Matthew, Mark, and Luke were a compilation of texts that were written and compiled, and scholars believe that they all come from a singular source. Um, there's always a lot of people who come up with various theories about was it this or was it that or was it anything. But what all of them are coming from is earlier texts that were geared towards creating a messianic future. So they were trying to do their best to prove that Jeshua was a Messiah. But they all come from singular texts and singular sources. So this is more of a spiritual conspiracy theory in a way. Um, but I don't mean that in any bad way, shape, or form. It's kind of like um, it is one of the comments that have been made out there by a lot of other groups. So it may also have been something in your personal experience that may have kind of like bled in. But um, I wouldn't discount what you say, and I would not in any way, shape, or form negate what you're saying is true, because it's your experience, and we're all on our own personal journey. But the book Matthew, Mark, and Luke are very well established that they're coming from a singular source. So I can't imagine that Matthew would be different since they're all coming from the same source. Um, I love to see this group giving such love to um, our friend, Broken Brain Guy. I love that. I also love to see earlier on the love they gave to Marcy as well. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, we have crossed the 19,000 subscriber mark and 19,100, and we are coming up to we'll get to 20,000 soon. I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to be a fun moment. Um, um, Craig Dixon, hello, Craig Dixon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, yeah, if you try to put links in YouTube in general, YouTube will always flag them or delete them. So it's best not to put links in, because sometimes I never get back to seeing the flagged ones for months or sometimes ever, because after a certain amount of time, YouTube just deletes them and I don't see them. So just wanted to say that. Hello, Michelle in Louisiana. Welcome. How did Jeshua and Mary Magdalene act as a couple? I've talked about this quite a lot. He called her Ishti, which is the word for wife, and they would giggle and laugh. And there's a video on my channel that said Jeshua loved sex. He loved that expression of sex. He was a man, and he had a beautiful, beautiful wife, and they were giddy in love with each other, and they would just laugh until they cried, and it was one of the most beautiful relationships ever. And absolutely, absolutely, did they have sex? Of course they did. The whole concept of not having sex is a St. Paul thing. St. Paul was a Pharisee who believed that holy men can't have to be celibate. Had nothing to do with anything Jeshua taught, which is why in the Gnostic text, James, the brother of Jeshua, calls Paul the liar, because he was tying things into his own personal Pharisaic beliefs. Hope that answers your question. Jumping down. Houston, Texas. Welcome, Maria. Thank you for signing on. I'm zipping through. I know I'm catching up pretty good here. Oh, thank you, Bright Love. I agree with you on Marcy. I'm questionable myself when you when you say that, but I'm joking. I thank you so much. I'm sure you're a truly loving person as well. Um, uh, my wings unfurled. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. And of course. Um, I think this is more complicated than it is. Jeshua went into the oneness of God. We are all part of the oneness of God. This is not me connecting to Jeshua in this life. It's me connecting to the oneness of God, like Jeshua would have taught. The kingdom of heaven is within you. He was never telling anyone that he was the middleman. He was never ever telling anyone that he was God on earth. He literally said, I'm the Son of Man. So, and hearing higher dimensions, the concept of higher dimensions is a new age construct. It really is much more simple. It's your awareness and oneness with God, and to understand that the universe God is love, and when you come to that space of realizing that universe and that God is love, and that you're part of that, then you can start to set your fears down, Denise, and and you come back to that place of just being joyful and loving, and then you have a whole different experience in life. I hope that answers your question. Um, jump down. Oh. Uh, Once again, it's Joshua is not the one welcoming. He's not the middleman. He's not the person. He is that would be deifying him, and he would not do that. What you're actually saying is Jeshua welcomes them, meaning into the religion, into the idea that Jeshua is a deity, and so the reality of it is that Christianity is the only one that made their deity the only Son of God. Right, the rest of in Islamic law, it's against Islamic law to deify Muhammad as the Christians have deified Isa, the son of Mary. So it literally says, don't deify him. He's a man. And that's what Jeshua was as well. He's a man who found his divinity. And so it's not about telling people to come to Jesus or come to Jeshua. It's about finding their divinity within. The kingdom of heaven is within, is what he taught. And so I hope that answers that question. I love this. Well, thank you for sharing that you made the pain from an MMA injury vanish. That's cool. Um, Jumping down. Oh, thank you, IB. Am I saying your name right, IB? EYBI. Let me know if I'm completely bastardizing your name or not. I'd like to give people the dignity and honor and respect of saying their name correctly. When you have a name like John Davis, real cool names like that are just fun, and I just really want to know how to say it. So, is it IB like the letter B? I don't know. Let me know. Um, uh, Thank you, Love Slinger. Um, India's in the house. Hello, Siddharth Kohli. My friend Siddharth is here. He was one of the winners from when I did the prize drawing a long time ago. Uh, how can I keep positive when somebody near me is negative? How can I protect myself from that energy? First of all, stop thinking you need to protect yourself, because that's a fear-based construct of your own. just start letting it saying, that's his, not mine, or that's theirs, not mine. You have to negate that those negative feelings are not yours. The reason you're having a reaction to it and feeling you need to be protected from it is because you're taking it in, right? I helped a lady heal herself from cancer by bringing her to faith, and someone asked me, well, how did you cleanse yourself afterward? I said, I didn't. They said, what do you mean you didn't? How do you know you're not going to get cancer? I said, because nothing sticks to me. I don't believe that it does. And it's the same thing here. They can't harm you unless you give them permission. And there's a video coming out somewhere in the future. I've been banking up my videos lately so that by the time summer comes around, I can take a longer break from making videos. Right now, the entire month of February, all the videos are made. So that makes me very happy. But it comes down to literally staying in the space of, that's theirs, not mine. You can have compassion for them, and you can ask what's their fear, because the negativity is just fear run amok. And so ask yourself, exhale, what's their fear? Ask what their fear is to yourself. You ask them what their fear is, you're looking for trouble, because they're gonna come back saying, I'm not afraid of anything. Right? So yeah. And sometimes with a negative person, sometimes you have to say, okay, I either have to, tell them flat out, I just can't deal with your negativity, which will make them have something. But usually what will happen, a negative person will go to somebody else, point at you, and start blaming you for all their problems. Because they negative people see the world in a negative way, and they're always looking for someone to dump that negativity on. But if you say that's yours, not mine, or that's theirs, not mine, and you don't start taking it in, they're going to feel like they need to go somewhere else anyway, because you're not becoming the dumping ground for their negativity anymore. I love this. The only thing I would tweak is I would stop saying will be and saying I'm receiving a perfect spine, because it's coming to you. You're not getting to it. And the more you can believe it's coming into your experience, the faster it'll come. Hello, Georgia. Hey, Georgia. Haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well. Boy, I'm really trying to catch up here. The old, it's like old home week in the chat board over here. Oh, Georgia, thank you so much. I just saw your super sticker. Thank you so much. And I was telling somebody earlier, it has the it tells me what the emoji is rather than show it to me in my software. So yours literally says, pair character riding a firework rocket disappearing away before the bursting in the sky. Which I think is just hysterical. Doubt. I love this question. What is doubt? Doubt comes from the fear of not being loved in some form, because somewhere someone has told you you're incapable, or that you can never achieve something that will give you their acceptance. And so doubt is created as a product of the lack of love. And so the only way you can diminish doubt is to exhale and start taking present moment actions, and start measuring your accomplishments. I am doing this, and I'm doing these small things. And when you start to see things come into your experience, then your faith, your trust will grow. And so it comes back to get very present and just start taking actions. Yeah, there's amazing people in the chats tonight. Denise, I love the heart from Denise. Oh, Ed, Bright Love, you are so good. Thank you for keeping me on task on time. I am about to sign off. Thank you. I noticed that just a minute ago myself. I appreciate that. Real quick, I just put a pat in the coffee if anybody's asking about butter. Let me jump down to the bottom so we have. All right, guys, I'm going to start to wind this down. I'm going to just zip through, get the last. I've done videos on astrology. I think it's people put faith in things and they see things through their faith. I believe I'm getting information that way, so they do. Thank you. Hello, Donna Davison. You haven't had any tomatoes lately, have you? Inside joke there. And if you're looking for, a lot of times if you're looking AB, like AB. Oh, nice. Okay, AB. Now I know how to say it, AB. I'll say it correctly from now on. All right, my friends. I am signing out. It was an absolute blessing that you guys were tremendous. Thank you so much, and have a great couple weeks. I'll be back from live 2 Fridays from now, so not next Friday, but the following. And thank you so much again to Marcy, and all of you wonderful people who have been so beautiful to each other in the chat tonight. This has just been a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving live stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and visit us at johnofnew.com.